Everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today let's learn about a very important topic, that is DevOps. In the application building process, there are always two teams involved. One is development team and the other is the operations team. Development team is involved in designing, coding and developing the applications, whereas the operations team is involved in server management, security checks, scalings and backups. In case of small companies, usually it's one team which looks after both the development part and the operations part of any application release process. But in case of larger companies, development and operations teams are different. DevOps is basically a practice that helps in bridging the gap between the development team and the operations team by following a cycle of different stages. Different stages of DevOps include plan, code, build, test, release, deploy, operate, and monitor. The build and test phase together is known as the continuous integration, and the release and deployment phase together is known as the continuous deployment. This is together known as a CI/CD pipeline, which is a continuous integration and a continuous deployment pipeline. Let's understand what each of these phases actually mean. Plan means identifying what needs to be built. Code means writing the application. Build means compiling the code into the executable formats. Test means conducting unit and integration testing. Release means preparing the application for deployment. Deploy means moving the application into production. Operate means ensuring everything runs smoothly. And monitor means gathering feedback for continuous improvement. Now let us understand the DevOps implementation with an example of deploying a new feature into a large e-commerce platform. Now imagine there is an e-commerce platform ShopMate, which has a development team and an operations team. The development team at ShopMate has been working on a new feature to enhance the checkout experience by integrating a new payment gateway. Now after the code was developed and tested on the local systems, the code is pushed to GitHub and is scheduled for deployment on the production servers. Now let us imagine a scenario that once the code is deployed, the new payment feature fails to work in the production environment. The development team insists that the code was thoroughly tested and worked perfectly on their local machines. Now they argue that the problem must lie with the servers or the deployment environment. On the other hand, the operations team says that the servers are functioning normally and they have no issues detected on their end. In this scenario, the development team had already tested the new feature using a local environment, but didn't account for the differences in the production environment. Now this mismatch led to the discrepancies in the behavior of the code. Now it turns out that the issue was related to the configuration differences between the development and the production environment. When the developers developed the application, they tested it on the local machines where the required configurations were set up correctly, but they did not account for the differences in the production environment. Specifically, the new payment gateway required certain environment variables and API keys that were correctly set up on the developer's local machines but were missing or incorrectly configured in the production environment, for which the application did not work on the production environment. Now this issue could be solved using DevOps. The first point is integrating a CI/CD pipeline. To address such an issue, ShopMate adopted DevOps practices including continuous integration and continuous deployment pipelines. These pipelines ensure that the code is automatically built, tested, and deployed in an environment that closely matches the production environment. The second point would be environment configuration management. The operations team implemented tools like Ansible and Chef to manage environment configurations and ensure that the production environment is consistently configured. This includes setting up the environment variables and the API keys in a secure and automated manner. Third point would be automated testing and staging environments. Before deploying new features to production, ShopMate introduced a staging environment that closely mimicked the production setup. This allowed the development and the operations team to catch configuration issues and other environment-specific problems before they reached the production. The fourth point would be monitoring and logging. Tools like Docker and Kubernetes were used to containerize the applications, making it easier to manage and replicate environments. Additionally, Jenkins was used to automate the deployment process and integrate logging and monitoring tools to provide real-time feedback on the application's performance. Now, the outcome of this was with these DevOps practices in place, ShopMate was able to significantly reduce the deployment issues. The continuous integration and automated testing ensured that the new feature was verified in a production like environment before deployment. The use of configuration management tools ensured that environment settings were consistent across all the stages. As a result, deployment issues became less frequent, and when they did occur, they were easier to diagnose and fix within a lesser amount of time. Coming to the conclusion, this real life example demonstrates how DevOps practices help bridge the gap between development team and the operations team, addressing issues that arise differences between the local and the production environments. By integrating automated testing, configuration management, and continuous deployment processes, DevOps enhances collaboration and ensures smoother, more reliable software releases.